Lena Waithe is a producer on the film 1001. I'm David Buchanan with Gold Derby. Lena, we're speaking the day after the Gotham Awards. The film had 3 nominations at the Gothams. You were there. And of course, Avi Rockwell won for Breakthrough Director. How proud are you of the film and of Avi?
I mean, words can't express. We've been rocking with AV for a while. I really wanted to congratulate Rishi Rajani, who was my CEO of Hillman Grad Ventures, who, when he interviewed for the job to run film and TV at the time for Hillman Grad Productions, the first thing he said is like, you should be working with filmmakers like AV Rockwell. And he told me to watch her short film, Feathers, which I did, and I was very blown away by it. It had already been acquired by Fox Searchlight, if I'm not mistaken. And I encourage everyone to check it out as well, and then watch 1001 and get to see the kind of director she is, her progression, her aesthetic, her vision. And I think that's really what I'm always drawn to. Is I've always learned is that just because you have a pen and paper doesn't mean you're a writer. Just because you yell action and cut doesn't make you a director. It's vision. And that's really what AV has, and passion and something to say and a reason to get up and do it every day. And I think I've just been watching her do that. I mean, we brought her in on Boomerang to direct, an episode, her first episode of television, and got her into the DGA in that way. And then to go through this process on this film and to watch her find it and rediscover it and do it in a way that she didn't think she was going to do, and to learn so much on the job, and to be there obviously with Teyana as well last night. And to be with Rishi, it was like an amazing thing. Even if we didn't win anything, we would have walked out of there with our heads held high, and we walked out, with an award. But we were just grateful to be there, just in that room. So it was a beautiful moment.
Yeah, it happened at Sundance too, where the film premiered. It won the Grand Jury Prize for Drama. I wanted to ask you, what is it like to sit in an audience and watch the film with a group of people who've never seen it before? Because it's such a journey. I mean, it's a beautiful film. The ending, we'll talk about the ending, which is really surprising and exciting. What is it like to just experience it with a group of strangers?
I've gotten to do that a couple of times. So I'm really grateful for it, particularly here, in New York City, in Harlem, where we shot the film. And, in Harlem is another character in the movie, as you can see. And also it's just beautiful to be in that room of New Yorkers. And, and Alicia Keys came by to that premiere. And we just had a lot of support and a lot of love from New York City. They really came out, they showed up. And that's what meant so much to us, is because it really is, obviously, AV being a New Yorker herself, it's a love letter to the city. Both enchanting and heartbreaking. And so I think that's what I witness when I see people watch the movie, and that you see them bob their heads to the music and smile about the memories, but then you also see the heartbreak when the city changes, and when the city goes through changes, and when the city tries to tear communities apart, and seeing this family sort of trying to hold on to each other with everything they have. People can't help but relate to that.
When you first saw either the script for the film or heard Avi's ideas for what she wanted to do with her first feature, what most resonated with you about the idea? Was it, the depiction of the city? What about it really, made you want to produce the project, other than your association with Avi?
Yeah, I mean, well, she didn't have a script for the movie. We just knew we wanted to make her first film. And that's a bold thing to say to someone. What is that first feature? What is it about? What is it? And she just said, she had to remember just these 3 things about, like, family, home, and I think gentrification. Those were the 3 things. And for those 3 ideas to become what 1001 has become, I think just goes to show her real vision and her true talent, and her ability to take something inside of herself and put it on to celluloid. But it was really a journey. We had to trust. She trusted us and we trusted her. And I think that, to me, those are the most rewarding journeys, when you both trust each other.
You're an accomplished writer yourself, of course. When you've seen her short films and when you saw the script for 1001, after having those conversations, what do you find most unique about Avi as a writer, and what do you admire most about her voice?
Oh man, I think she reminds me just of those movies we got in the 90s, when particularly Black cinema was finding its voice, and that it was gritty, it was raw, and also funny sometimes, and in the midst of the pain and the strife. And so that's what she reminds me. She's like a throwback to the 90s kind of thing. And I think that's so amazing. And you know, you don't know what's going to happen next. And I love work like that. I think the work that you can kind of, you know, what's going to happen. And this, you're just on this, you're on this ride, you're on this journey, and you're with these people. And I'm also a person that really loves character. I love creating characters. That's one of my favorite things to do. And I think, but also characters are, you know, are a combination of people that I've met and I've encountered. And that's really, really great writers, I think, are those that can take a couple pieces from people that they've met and create a fictitious character that feels more human than anyone you've ever met. And that's what I think AV does really well.
Speaking of incredible characters, let's talk about Ines, the protagonist of the film. She's just, you know, it's an incredible story of determination and will. What do you most admire about Ines as a character on the page? And then, you know, we'll talk about working with Teyana, who's just a tour de force in this film.
I mean, I like her grit, and I like her willingness to get angry. I think a lot of times on screen, you don't often, I think there's this trope of sort of the angry Black woman, as if it's, why shouldn't we be angry? So we have a lot of things to be angry about. And I like that she's not afraid to show her frustration, even at her kid, who can frustrate her a lot. And he does. Who frustrates you more than your own child? As I don't have a child, but I am one. So I've done my share of frustrated my own mother. And that's who I remember my mom yelling at us sometimes, a lot of the times, you know, because she was a single mother. And there is no, for a time, father to discipline or come in and be that strong arm. So she had to be that. We had to be afraid of her. And I think that that is something that I really relate to with Teyana's character. And I think that that's okay sometimes. It's okay to have a healthy fear of the person that brought you into the world, because they may be able to take you out of it.
Yeah, something I love about their dynamic too is she really, as much as she's a mother and we meet Terry at age 6, she really at times treats him as an equal. They are partners together against the system. It's just an incredible and unique dynamic to see on screen, I think.
I agree. I like that observation that she treats him like an equal, not like a kid, because the observation I made about the film, which I asked this at a panel at Sundance, and AB said you're reading too much into it. But no, she liked where my head was. But as the sun like literally comes into the window. No, she gives her son shoes that are too big for him. And she says, "But you'll grow into these," which is a very common, you know, term you hear in the house, very throwaway. I've heard that before too. But there was something interesting about, I don't know why I heard it this way, but it was almost as if young Black boys have to step into shoes that they are not ready to fit into yet. And also, and then Lucky's wearing those same shoes later in the photo. Like, he had to be the man of the house for her until this other man who she wanted to come in and be the man of the house, you know, she almost wants him to come in and take that burden away from her son. And he does a little bit, but but then she wants him to be the father that she wants him to be, not the father he knows how to be, which is a very complicated thing for him to even be a father to this particular child, for reasons we don't have to reveal. But that's what's so fascinating about the script. You know, it's so interesting because there's a lot of talk. I mean, you know, you understand your publication, a lot of talk about Teyana potentially for, you know, Oscar nomination after last night's win. Maybe there might be some conversation around AV. Obviously, we were nominated for best, you know, breakthrough film. And but I hope people don't sleep on the screenplay, you know, and I'd love to know the numbers on this, but I don't know if a Black woman's ever been nominated for best original screenplay for the Academy Awards. You might know that information. I'd love if you could figure that out and have that be a part of this conversation, because it's one that we should be having. You know, I think oftentimes women that look like AV or look like me often aren't a part of those Academy conversations, because we don't fit the mold. We don't look the part. And I hope that as we move into this very interesting award season, we kind of start to step back and not do what we've always done, although it does sort of look as business as usual as we kind of look ahead, as I sat at the Gotham Awards last night, kind of going back to the way things were, if you will. But I hope that this movie kind of breaks through, and even though it's not the most talked about, hasn't been seen a ton, but if you look at the film, we have to ask ourselves, why is it not being talked about? Why have people not seen the film, and rather than the films that we are talking about and are highlighting?
Yeah, how important is are things like Gotham and Sundance for independent films like this that really, as you said, maybe is underseen, but needs the visibility because it's such incredible work. And if you can only get in front of, the eyeballs, people, it really resonates with so many people. How important are these things, along the journey? Because it debuted at Sundance January of this year, right? It's almost a year, right?
Correct. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think they're extremely important. I think that sort of support, that light being shed on the work is necessary because it'll hit the papers and it'll make someone say, well, I haven't seen this film. Let me go see it. And the great thing about it is they don't have to leave their home. This movie is available to rent everywhere you rent and buy movies on demand. So it's not that, it doesn't take that much effort, and so we help people on an afternoon when they have some time to check it out. We implore people to watch the film, particularly voters as well, because oftentimes our films aren't even watched. That's a fact. And I think that is something that, we do count on, certain things like Gotham, Critics' Choice, people checking the movie out and making it trend and things like that. It was editor's pick on Apple. So look, we really hope that we can get the support, but we have to look at films like this in order for us to really see each other, because that's really what Avi's doing. She's really painting a picture of what it is to be, a person of color in New York City during a time in which you've been pushed out of your own neighborhood.
Let's talk about Teyana Taylor's performance. I know you know her, before collaborating on this film. What did you know about her that just you knew that she would be perfect in the role? Because once you see the film, I don't know if you can see anybody else as Ines. It's a perfect kind of embodiment of that character. So how did you know?
I mean, I think it was something in Teyana's voice that was just so, palpable. She just was like, she would call me and I would tell her, I'm like, I can't make the decision. I'm not the director here. I'm a producer. And I think people also have to understand that I'm here to support AB and not tell her what to do. And so as much as I love Teyana, it was a very interesting place to be in because she was like, I'm supposed to do this part. And I said, I really do think that. I think you're right. And I said, but I have to hope that AB thinks that as well. Because if she does, then we're all in. And it may have took a little bit more time, but AB kind of realized like, oh shit, yeah, I've seen everybody and no one has been able to make me feel how Teyana does. And I was very happy about that because it was AB's decision. And I think that relationship between AB and Teyana is a big reason why that performance is able to sing the way it does, because Teyana doesn't hide. She's not afraid. And she's she's fearless, and she just kind of jumps in, and she's a strong woman, and she's from Harlem. That's her world. That's her. It's I think she was kind of said like, if this isn't for me, I don't know what is. And I think she was right.
We have to talk about too the three incredible actors portraying Terry at three different ages. Just three really wonderful lived-in performances. How tricky, as a producer and working with AV, to find three young men who can play the role and look the same part, and see Terry gradually aging from 6 to 17, and just you lucked out with such incredible young actors.
I mean, AV and our phenomenal casting director were just relentless in terms of seeing every single actor, which is old school. Sometimes people like to get through that process pretty quickly. No, for us, casting took a very long time. It was probably the longest process. Felt almost longer than post, although post kind of were pretty long. But I think we just really were blessed, and AV's vision again, and her gut, her listening to that, I think really worked for us in our favor, because I love all three of those performances. They're all so special, and every son with her each has a special moment with her, and particularly the last one is just gut wrenching.
Yeah, it really is. I do want to ask you about the end of the film, so I'm going to give a spoiler alert. If you haven't seen the film, pause the interview right now. Go watch it. It's only 2 hours. Go watch it now. Come back, and then you'll want to hear this about the ending, because I was so surprised at that kind of twist at the end. It changes so much about the film, but at the heart it's still just an incredible mother-son story. So I wanted to ask you, when you saw that on the page and how AV kind of reveals that information, how did you feel? how does it make you think about the characters? What was your first reaction to hearing that and reading that?
I mean, the reaction I remember most is just crying at this is the second table where we did the second. This was a virtual one. We did one at the workshop that was in person with different actors, and then finally we got to the virtual one that was pretty much the cast for the most part. The thing when he says he wishes he didn't know, I think always gets me. And I think almost the audience feels that way in some way. And again, the script, I really hope people, it's such a beautiful turn because he says what's happened is in an instant, everything he's known to be true is ripped away. And that's also what's happening to New Yorkers who live in New York City. Like you're saying, so are you saying that this didn't happen? These buildings, these houses, these homes, these streets that we used to be a part of, are you saying that that's no longer my home? Like that didn't exist? And I think that's what breaks me is they are the humanization of gentrification. And that's really what AV is doing. She's trying to make you understand to be pushed out of your home, literally, which they are also being pushed out of. They're experiencing gentrification, but they're also experiencing sort of an internal gentrification. She's like, this isn't, you don't live here anymore. This isn't real. And he's just like, but it is. It is. And I think that's what breaks me every time.
At the end of the film, too, those last shots are so powerful. Lena Waithe, congratulations on 1001. Thank you so much for talking to Gold Derby today.
Thank you, David. I appreciate you, man.